Okay, so there was good storytelling in a couple areas, right? The problem with it is, though, is it's still the same problem that it's been. The storytelling is good this week. Doesn't mean it's going to be good next week. Doesn't mean it was good last week. It took 2 weeks for us to get the tag team champions on TV. It took 2 weeks. 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And the Guns came back. I like that. I didn't hate that. This Death Riders thing, it sucks. You cannot win me over there. It is horrible. It is not good. And even with, because I know a lot of people like the Swerve Strickland Ricochet match. I liked it. The match itself was good. Problem is, it's the same bullshit story every time. You want to know what it is? It's that match shouldn't have been on a random Wednesday.
Well, the Swerve and Ricochet match was promoted for 3 weeks in advance, so that's not a random Wednesday. They built it up 3 weeks in advance. They announced the match
knowing
3
that
weeks in
Grand
advance.
Slam was next week.
Brother, I don't. You can't bring Grand Slam into the picture because, quite frankly, Grand Slam is dead on arrival. So we can't.
The problem is it didn't have to be dead on arrival.
No, it was dead on arrival the minute they announced it.
It didn't have to be, though. And a match like that could have boosted it.
The match is not going to boost that card, bro. The match is not. It's dead on arrival. This is taking place at like 11 p.m. Eastern.
They're still putting matches on there, so why not have that match on there?
Okay, so I'm going to break this down for you, okay?
Break it down.
As somebody who genuinely thinks that AEW in the last 3 fucking years has been garbage, to be fair, this is like watching Battle of the Belts. It's not a pay-per-view. It's at a very late time slot after the NBA. Nobody's watching that shit. At the end of the day, there's nothing on that card that really feels like a priority to watch. I feel like they did the right thing with Ricochet and Swerve being on Dynamite.
I cannot agree with that. I can't get behind that because knowing that you have, even if it is B level, right? It doesn't have to be B level.
Brother, it's not even B level. That's just a C level event.
Excuse. That's a shitty poor excuse that you're giving them.
No.
Because are we just saying like, oh yeah, no, you can go ahead and you can put things on TV when they're needed, but hey, forget the whole importance of what this show's going to be. You're going over to Australia. You're doing some good things over there. We're just completely ridding that. The show's dead. That's a shitty poor excuse.
Brother, I need you to understand something. Logistically speaking, AEW in Australia has been a failure since day one.
Yes, because of how much it's changed.
So you have to understand in this particular situation, and trust me, I call things down the middle. There is no way whatsoever anything of this magnitude. This storyline is arguably one of their better storylines. You don't waste it on Grand Slam when nobody's going to see it. I'm not saying
it's not a good storyline. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is regardless, like you said, you're wasting it on Grand Slam. I just don't see that as the case because you're getting some of those top stars in Australia. Why not have a great match like Swerve and Ricochet on that show?
Because, brother, this is one of the stories that they're actually telling on TV, and there's probably going to be more to it, obviously, based on what we saw. You got to do it on TV. I don't think you understand. TV is the most important component to the AEW business model, and AEW needs to put on good stories. So when you get a good story like Swerve and Ricochet and you're promoting it in advance, that's telling you, which, by the way, you should understand this because you used to ride Tony Khan's fucking AEW brand like no other back in the day. Back in the day, what made AEW good was the fact that they actually had stories and they were able to promote matches for 3-4 weeks in advance.
For sure. I'm not saying that. That's not my problem. My problem is the placement of the match.
In the main event on a Wednesday night Dynamite?
No.
On the A show?
No, it's regardless of that. This is where AEW messes up, bro.
I'm sorry, but I don't agree.
This is where they mess up. We get a good match on Dynamite that could have went on what is supposed to be a show that they have promoted for months.
No, they haven't been promoting Grand Slam. They barely promote it. Billy, don't get it twisted, bro. I'm telling you right now. I criticize everything. I pay attention to AEW. Trust me. I'm telling you right now. I promise you. Right now, the worst thing they could have done was putting Ricochet and Swerve on Grand Slam. This is a match realistically
you just should be put it on Grand Slam. No, you meant Dynamite.
So I'm saying I'm glad they didn't put it on Grand Slam. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because if you put it on Grand Slam, bro, nobody's watching that shit. It's literally just a glorified fucking house show. Do you not agree with that sentiment? On that time slot that they're having, at the time that they're having it on a 23-hour tape delay, do you think people are going to genuinely care about Grand Slam Australia?
Okay. That
yes or no? Just yes or no answer. Hold on.
Yes.
You agree that nobody's going to care about Grand Slam?
Sure. My problem is that some people are going to care about it, and enough people will.
Some people. Okay. Can I tell you who doesn't care about Grand Slam?
You.
No, Tony Khan. You know how I know Tony Khan doesn't care about Grand Slam? Because if Tony Khan cared about Grand Slam, brother, he would have been promoting it for months and months and months and months actively. But there's a reason why we see more promotion for AEW Revolution. So my point that I'm making is we got Ricochet beating Swerve. It was short, but at the end of the day, let's not get too far-fetched from what originally started this. It was the conversation about Dave LaGreca talking about the cinema.
Right.
Now, AEW fans have been exposed as hypocrites because the two best stories that are currently ongoing on AEW television
going on,
it's because the cinema,
right?
It's storyline driven, exactly. And because it's storyline driven, that now means that the wrestling aspect didn't matter. So the whole shtick, the most over character in AEW, by the way, right now is Toni Storm, and she had a match with Queen Aminata, and that entire match was a good match, but it wasn't anything crazy. But the whole thing, the whole focal point was Toni Storm being the glamour, Mariah May, and Mariah May being on commentary. So at the end of the day, just goes to show you that people value more of the storytelling and more of that than the actual wrestling aspect.
Agreed.
And here's the thing. Ricochet and Swerve didn't get a lot of time. People can argue that the ending of the match justifies Swerve having another match. Cool. You don't put that on Grand Slam. You did it on Dynamite. You give people a little taste. Ricochet shocked the world. He obviously needed the win. And then what makes both of this even better is now you actually have more meat and more layers to the story going into Revolution. The storyline that the pay-per-view that Tony Khan actually gives a fuck about, because you could see it written on TV that Tony Khan cares more about Revolution than Grand Slam. And by the way, I just want to make this very, very clear. I'm telling you guys, I am praising AEW Dynamite last night, and I'm saying it was a great show. There was things I didn't like about it, but there was far more good than bad.
Yeah, great word.
No.
Yeah,
I'm gonna tell you.
We gotta chill on that great word.
We're gonna talk about this. I'm gonna explain why.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, just give me a second. We'll get to that. But when you watched AEW Dynamite last night, more good than bad. Now, obviously, with that being said, there's going to be a lot of fans out there who go back to that Dave LaGreca video and try to point fingers at Dave LaGreca. And Covalent TV, this one's for you, buddy. You and your people that are running that account, because you guys don't offer any value other than posting titties and ass on your fucking timelines. So guess what? Here's the thing, right? And this is the problem with Twitter. Everybody wants to be anti-WWE, and then everybody wants to be anti-AEW. But for some fucking reason, for the last 5 years that I've been covering both, it's always one company does something and then that company's bad. But then when the other company does the same thing, it's fucking amazing. And that's the problem, and that's exactly what this Dave LaGreca thing is all about. Dave LaGreca has every right to say, hey, listen, I care about cinema. That's what it is. That's what puts butts in seats, because I do agree with that. But you know who else agrees with that? The people in AEW who are focused on those storylines. The reason why AEW gets fucking blowback is not because they only do good matches. It's because AEW has done very good stories in their entire time they've been a company.
Yeah.
They've had great storylines. The problem is they don't know how to do it consistently from start to end. And that's the problem. When you have things randomly happening on TV, people feel disconnected. So at the end of the day, I don't agree with a lot of the stuff that people are saying. But the reason why I don't agree with it is because everybody's being fucking hypocrites. WWE conditioned people to realize that wrestling is the least important part. Yeah, well, at the end of the day, as you can imagine, you know what's getting people really invested in AEW when they're invested in AEW? It's not the fucking random 5-star match, bro. It's the fact that they've been able to put on storylines where people want to see it. Swerve Strickland did not get over because he was a great wrestler. Swerve Strickland got over because he had a fucking amazing feud with Hangman Page. He got over because he had an amazing feud with every single person that he stepped in the ring with. And this is the fucking problem. This is why people have a hard time across WWE and AEW getting invested in tag team wrestling. You want to know why people aren't invested in tag team wrestling? Because tag team wrestling does not have the same emphasis or the same amount of love and layers and storyline driven content in their shit and the stuff that they're doing on TV. The Guns have been off of TV and they're randomly back, and now they're challenging the Hurt Syndicate.
Yeah,
you know why people don't give a fuck? Because the Guns haven't been on TV having some sort of chase, having some sort of storyline where they're building up to it. And this is the same reason why people don't give a fuck about the War Raiders versus the Judgment Day or DIY versus, MCMG. It's because they're not building enough layers to it. But you know damn well everybody in the wrestling world was absolutely fucking in love with Swerve and Hangman Page. People were genuinely split on who they wanted to win because both guys came across as stars. It's the same reason why you have people watching Cody and Kevin Owens and they're like, fuck, bro, I love Cody, but look at this great work that Kevin Owens is doing. I kind of want him to win the belt. And the reason why is because they've added layer on those stories. And so for those who are pissed at Dave LaGreca, let me just remind you that the best stories that have happened on AEW television, the best matches, always resulted because the storylines drove them to that spot. And that should be the edge that AEW has over WWE, because if you could do fucking great stories and really fucking good matches, and WWE is restricting their people on the in-ring stuff, then dude, you completely change the perception of what WWE and what wrestling and everything should be. But the problem is you can't do two of them at the same time. You got to pick one or the other. It's either good matches or good stories. No, if AEW focused on both, AEW would crush WWE and it would expose WWE. But the thing is, they can't do that because it's always inconsistent storytelling. And that is my point.
I like it. I dig it.
That was fun.
I had to let you go, bro. I had to let you go.